Hi, and welcome to Easy WordPress Websites. This is Angie Meeker. Thanks for joining me. In the past few videos, we've shown you how to install WordPress, create users, adjust the general settings, given you an overview of the dashboard, shown you how to add content to your pages and posts, and even how to change the entire look of your site by changing the theme, changing your sidebars, your menus, and widgets. In this video, I'm going to show you how to add plugins. What are plugins? Plugins are add-ons to the site. As I mentioned before, they're like when you build a sunroom for your house or add a pool. You don't have to use a plugin, but they greatly affect the functionality of your site. They expand the value of your site and what it is that you can do with your site. Whatever you need to do with your site, there's probably a plugin. There's a plugin for that. That's the big WordPress joke. There's a plugin for that. And so what I want to do is show you just a few of the most basic plugins that I use on almost all of my sites so that you can take a look at them and see if they are ones that you might also need to use on your site. Here they are in list form. The first one, and this is the only one that I'm going to walk you completely through so that you can see how to install it, because it is the most important one, and in my opinion, it is non-negotiable. You have to have this plugin on your site. It's called Akismet, and what it does is it stops spam on your site. It catches spam comments on your site. If you do not have this plugin installed on your site and you allow comments, you will very likely end up with tens of thousands of spam comments on your site. It's just that simple. This is the plugin that stops spam. And so what I want to do, after I tell you a little bit about each one of these plugins, we're going to go back to the site and we're going to install Akismet so that you can see how it works. So the next one is called All-in-One SEO Pack. You know, search is everything these days, it seems like it. And so All-in-One SEO Pack allows you to customize all of your search engine benefits, if you want to think of it that way, all of your search engine terms per post and per page. So if you're writing a post that is about bed sheets, for example, then you can go in and customize the keywords and the title and the meta tags and all of these sorts of things specific to that post, rather than assuming that the way that you have your site set up for search is going to work for that particular post. It allows you to customize it for that post, and not just for the post, but for categories and archives and tags and all of those sorts of things. It's very broad. It's a very broad and yet specific and powerful plugin for search. The next one is called Google XML Sitemaps, and it will create the sitemap that you need to submit to Google in order to ensure that your site is properly crawled by Google search engines and that your content is found really well by search engines. The one after that is called Google Analytics, and this is a plugin that allows you to very simply add your Google Analytics code to your website without having to get in and modify any code on your website. Like the actual instructions for Google Analytics tell you to copy some code and paste it into the header or the footer of your website. Well, you know, if you don't know code, if that scares you, then you're not going to want to copy that and get in and figure out where to paste that information. And so Google Analytics allows you to get in and just take one little line of information, a couple bits of numbers, and paste that into one little form field within the plugin and get your analytics set up right away. Widget Logic is a plugin, and I've included a tutorial at mynameisangie.com that will allow you to tell widgets on your site that you only want them to show up on particular pages or particular posts or particular archives or things like that. Twitter Tools is a very powerful plugin that allows you to cross-post your information to your website or from your website to Twitter, and to automate that process so that when you post something on Twitter, it will automatically be when you post something on your website, it will automatically be posted to Twitter, and you can have some interaction between the two systems automatically. And then just a very simple free contact form, so that on your contact page, rather than having to write, okay, please call us or email us, which is fine, and you should have those options as well. You can also include an actual contact form right there, so that people can say, okay, here's my actual question that I have right this minute when I have it. There are 2 premium plugins that I absolutely recommend as well. One is called Gravity Forms, and one is called Backup Buddy. Gravity Forms, if you are going to have any forms on your site at all, get Gravity Forms. It's like $39, and it's the easiest possible way to implement forms that you can imagine. As easy as it is to drag a widget into your sidebar, it is that easy to create forms on your site. And not just simple forms. You can do conditional forms, like, imagine if you're using a form and you needed a form where if someone, if someone had chosen, let me get back to our PowerPoint. If someone had chosen one option in the first part of the form, then 4 options would appear below that. But it was conditional on what they chose on the first part of the form. It's very, very powerful, and it integrates with many other opportunities out on the internet, like MailChimp and Aweber and Groupon and some things like that. So Backup Buddy is what I mentioned earlier. It's a great way to back up your site. You can tell Backup Buddy that you need to back up your site on a monthly or daily or weekly basis, and it will back it up for you. It will email it to you or send it to your hosting account, or it will send it out to the cloud somewhere if you need it to do that. It will back up just your database, or which has your content in it, or it will back up your entire website, which includes all of your themes and everything, basically. So those are the basic plugins that I recommend. And like I said, what I'm going to show you is how to find new plugins and install those plugins, where to find the settings for those plugins, but also I'm going to walk you through that most important plugin called Akismet. So let's get over to our site now. You can see we've logged in here. And just like the process is very much like Appearance when you would install a theme. You just come down to Plugins, and if you click on Installed Themes, you'll see all of the themes that you already have installed on your site. Oh, here they are right here. The areas that are white are the themes that are the plugins that you have installed and are active. The ones that are in the gray are installed and are not active. If you click Add New, you'll be able to search for new plugins. Now it's the same thing as the themes. There are free plugins in the repository, but there are premium plugins that are out in the wild that you can go and read about and purchase. The plugins that are in the repository have been reviewed by WordPress and don't have any malicious or mean code in them, and they are certain to not break your WordPress installation. And so you can search by featured and popular and newest and recently updated. You can search by a particular term that you need. So let's say that we needed something having to do with events. We'll just search for events, and you'll see that there are many plugins that have to do with events. And how do you know which one that you need? Well, you have to read the description here. You have to look at the details. And we'll go ahead and click Details, and here are the details of what this plugin can do for you. This tells you this plugin has not been tested with your current version of WordPress. What does that mean? That means that at some point someone created this plugin for WordPress. They submitted it to the repository and it was approved. Since the point that this plugin has been submitted, WordPress itself has been updated, but this plugin has not necessarily been updated and tested to match the current version of WordPress. So how can you tell what version it matches with it? Well, over here in the right hand side, you'll see it says requires WordPress version 2.7. It's compatible up to version 3.14. So you can start to see, you can compare that to your current version of WordPress and see how does it go. Taking a look at the rating is also a great way to see how are people feeling about this plugin. Seeing how often it's downloaded is a great way to see as well. Clicking under installation will give you the installation instructions for the plugin. Screenshots will often show you exactly what you think, a screenshot of how the plugin will look once it's installed on your site. And then frequently asked questions. Sometimes a plugin will have answers to frequently asked questions here, and sometimes it won't. Sometimes it will give you a link to the plugin's own website where the plugin author answers questions, support questions on their own website rather than coming back to the WordPress website and answering questions. You can also click on the WordPress.org plugin page, which will take you right back to this first page here. So we'll just click out of this. Actually, I wanted to click install. I'm sorry. From that screen, let's get back in there real quick and I'll show you that. Once you've read over this, if you decide that you want to install it, you can just click install now right here. Or you can click install now here. Once you've clicked install now, we'll go ahead and do that just so that you can see it. You'll see you have the option to activate the plugin or return to the plugin installer. If we return to the plugin installer, this is where you have the option to search for plugins. Let's go back to the plugins that we have installed on our site, and you'll see here is that plugin now. It's installed in our site, but it's not active. So let's go ahead and activate it. And just like themes, just like a theme author can choose where to put their theme options, a plugin author can choose where to put their settings. Sometimes a plugin author will put their settings here under plugins. Sometimes it will be under tools. Most often it will be under settings, or it will become its own tab under settings. This one happened to put theirs under events. And so you can see here are all of the settings for events. Now again, just like themes, the only way to know how to use the plugin is to read the instructions. But whatever you want to do with your site, there's definitely a plugin for that. So feel free to look around. Between themes and plugins, those two things are what takes WordPress and moves it from being a simple blogging platform to being an extremely effective and expandable content management system for you. And so let's go ahead and we will go back to our installed plugins and we'll take a look at that one particular plugin called Akismet that we want to activate. And then we want to look at the settings for it. And it is saying, for many people, basically this is the way to reduce spam. You'll see a note here that says if you don't have an API key yet, you can get one at akismet.com. So let's go ahead and click on that. And then this big blue button that says get an Akismet key, we want to click on that. Now Akismet is free for personal use, and so we want to click on sign up. And what you'll see here is this option over here to donate if you want to. You don't have to. Akismet is a free plugin that is used by millions of websites, and so the authors give you the option to donate, but you don't have to. You really don't have to, but you really can if you want to. And so if you don't want to, just slide it over to 0, put your first name, last name, email, and confirmation email in here, and click continue. And once you do that, you'll be given what's called an API key. It's a series of about, I think it's 15 digits that you'll want to copy and paste that and keep it in a safe place, because if you ever create another site, you'll need that same key again. And so once you have that API key, you'll want to bring it back and paste it right in this first area. And then go ahead and click this auto delete spam submitted on post more than a month old, and then click update options. And once you do that, your site will be ready to just kill spam dead in its tracks. Okay, the next plugin I want to show you is this big nag that's called Your Jetpack is Almost Ready. You see this here, and this tab on the left side that says Jetpack. Well, Jetpack is actually a collection of plugins or services that have been in use at WordPress.com for some time now and are now being offered as part of the default WordPress installation when you host WordPress yourself on your own servers. And so what we want to do is connect to WordPress.com, and if you already have a WordPress.com username and password, you can just enter that here. Otherwise, you'll need to create an account and follow the instructions there to authorize Jetpack. So we were going to go ahead and connect myforeverlegacy.com to WordPress.com. I have a username and password already, so I'm going to go ahead and just enter that information in. Of course, the password that I just entered in is wrong, so let's try another one. Once we've entered in that username and password, then it will bring us back to our WordPress installation and say that now we're connected. It says all done, you're fueled up and ready to go. The features below are now active. Click the buttons to learn how to explore more. Now, the first one is WordPress.com stats. You can configure your stats to show you the most basic statistics on your website. So you want to put a chart showing 48 hours of views in the admin bar. Go ahead and do that, and I'll show you what that is. You do not want to count the page views of registered users, because what that would do is every time that you are logged in and looking at your site, it's going to count your visits to the site. Well, you don't want to do that. What you want to know is how many times do other people visit your site. And then save configuration. So we're going to do that. We'll come back here to our site, and when we reload it, what you will see once you start having traffic to your site is right here in this area, you'll see a little graph of your traffic. And if you click on it, it will expand and take you further to your statistics. You can also now access your site stats right here. Now when we click on it, it's going to say, whoa, slow down. You know, you've only been looking at your site for just a minute, or your site's only been live for just a minute. There's hardly anything here to look at. See, you can look at where have people been coming to your site from, what are the search engine terms they've been coming, what have they been looking for when they found your site, what content on your site is being looked at the most, and what is being clicked on your site the most. Let's go back to the Jetpack and we'll keep looking through those options. Gravatar hover cards will pop up like a little business card of a person who has commented on your site. If you enable that, that will show their basic contact information that they have enabled in Gravatar.com. The Twitter widget, we're going to go ahead and click Learn More. The Twitter widget shows your latest tweets within a sidebar on your theme. To use the Twitter widget, go to Appearance and Widgets. The Twitter widget is listed as Twitter Jetpack. Drag it into one of the sidebars and configure away. And so most of these, if you just read them, it will tell you more about it. Enable short links. You know, the URL for a page, like let's say Our Services. If we click on Our Services, the URL for this page is quite long. See, these are all the changes that we made in that last video. That's horrible, isn't it? They're ugly. It's a good thing you can change the background on your site yourself. Okay, so here we are. This URL is quite long. If you're using a service like Twitter and you're only allowed a certain number of characters, the shorter that you can get that URL, the better. And so what WordPress has done is create what's called a short link for each of your URLs. And what you would have, you can see it right here in this area. When you're editing your pages or your post, or looking at your pages or your post, you would be able to click this link that says Get Short Link, and it will give you a very short URL that is equivalent to your longer URL that you can paste in other places like Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter and that sort of thing that won't use up as many characters. ShareDaddy, we're going to click Configure because I want to definitely make sure that you see this. You know, when you're reading a post or a page and you get to the bottom of it and there are options here to share this post or page on social networks like Twitter or Facebook or LinkedIn. That's what ShareDaddy allows you to do very easily. And what you can do is just drag these items down here into your enabled services. And these icons will begin to show up on your post and pages so that people can share your content with their friends. So they can email your content, they can print it, they can easily share it to their Facebook page or to StumbleUpon or to Twitter. This is what it would look like at the bottom of your post. You can also add other services, like LinkedIn is not mentioned here, or YouTube. You can add those by simply putting the service name here, the sharing URL here, and the URL of the 16 by 16 icon that you want to use there. There are other plugins that accomplish that same function. If you would rather search the plugin directory for those, you can do that. Some of those are called Add to Any or Share This, or I particularly like Sexy Bookmarks. I think that's kind of a nice one. The default button style, you can choose what it looks like. Will it be just the icon, or will it be text too? Will it be just text or icon and text? You can change the text that shows up right here. You can tell it whether or not the links will open in the same window or a new window, whether to show the buttons on all your pages or just post, or a combination of the two, and then you can click Save Changes. So then we'll go back up to the Jetpack and finish looking at the rest of our options. As that's refreshing though, let's go ahead and refresh our page so that you can see those sharing buttons in action. Oh, you know what? I have it only on post, so let's get over to a post. And there they are right there. Shortcode embeds are part of what we talked about earlier, where you can embed a YouTube video directly in your website. And if you expand that, then you can see the instructions for exactly how to do that. Latex is if you are someone who has to frequently post complicated markup like math equations or formulas. This markup will allow you to keep that information within your post content without it getting all garbled up. And then after the deadline is a spelling and grammar and style check that you can configure to work with your WordPress installation. And you see you have a lot of options here. It's very much like it's a full-on editor within your WordPress installation. So that's it. That's the Jetpack, and as well Akismet, and how you find and install and activate plugins. If you have a plugin that is installed and active and you decide that you don't want it anymore, you can just deactivate it. So we're going to deactivate that Events plugin that we looked at earlier. And then once it's deactivated, you can even delete it. It will ask you to confirm whether or not you want to delete it, and you can say yes, delete these files. Different plugins function differently. Some plugins, when you delete them, they will delete all of their information that they have used while they were active on your site. Other plugins will leave some of their information on your site so that if you were to reinstall that plugin at some point and activate it again, some of the settings might still be there and already active, which in some cases is helpful if you decide to reactivate the plugin, and in some cases is not. So you may read the plugin information to find out what files will be deleted when you delete your plugin. And that's it. That's plugins.